Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, a place where you can take some time to learn how to read the minds of others through the subconscious signals their body screams out into the world, alongside understanding the signals you send out into the world, okay? Because you can just be as easily read as the individuals whom you wish to read. Luckily for you, it's not a very common form of information, perhaps because it's a very powerful form of information and people want to keep it to themselves, whom understand the benefits of understanding nonverbal signals. Today we're going to talk about a relatively common behaviour which you will see when communicated with those sitting, okay? So, if you enjoy what you listen to and you want to learn more, please click subscribe. This lesson is going to be regarding the seated ankle lock. This is where, just like the image before you, the ankles are wrapped together and pulled inwards towards the chair or that which they're seated on. To take it a step further, the ankles can be literally wrapped around the legs of the chair. Okay? This adds security to where there's none. Alright, it's a big display of uncertainty and anxiety, and you will see it in real time. I see it in real time. Numerous situations come to mind. So when I've discussed business with an individual who might not feel comfortable with the offer at hand, the legs have wrapped around the legs of the chair, okay? Or the ankles, to be precise. It's very clear. It's a very blatant form of body language. And as we've discussed in prior lessons, the feet and the legs are the furthest from the brain, so they're the most honest gestures and behaviours our body provides. It's very hard to consciously dictate the movements and the triggers of our feet and legs. Okay? So as I said, it adds security where there's none. Alright? There's a lock that's been put in place to feel safe and secure. It's a freeze response. Alright? So you've heard of the freeze, flight and fight response in the face of a threat. In that order, this is the freeze, okay? The person needs to feel secure, and in doing so they lock themselves down in the face of a potential threat. Alright? If you're securing business with an individual whom is in this position, or if, let's say, you're a boss or a manager speaking to a subordinate who has put themselves in this position, it's in your best interest to have them legs open and reaching towards you before you continue with the message you're trying to put across, alright? Because they feel fearful and off-centre, and they need that pacifying security to soothe the stress their brain is going through. It can be clustered with a wealth of additional behaviours, okay? So we're only talking about the isolated instance of the ankles currently, right? But it can be clustered with the hands clutching onto the armrest, if the arms are even in view, because this could be happening outside of your awareness underneath a table, alright? And their hands could also be underneath the table, away from you, defensive. Okay, it's not a good position, it's not a good way to communicate, or at least get a message through to an individual who's in this position, alright? Coiled like a snake, alright? This isn't to be mistaken with an individual who is standing up with the ankles coiled. That's completely different, as an individual who is standing up with the ankles coiled feels secure and safe because the legs need to be free and steady to run away from a potential threat. So if you're around an individual who is standing up with their ankles coiled, they feel secure around you because they feel like they don't need to run away anytime soon. So it's a completely different behaviour. I'll do a video on that one next. Alright? So they're bracing for a bad outcome or to defend themselves from some sort of threat. If you see this behaviour in the workplace, or I would use another example, but I think the workplace, you do see it come up a lot. Alright, or through any means of business communications or the like, where an individual could be seated. If you see this behaviour, it's very clear that they feel uncomfortable. Alright? You've been listening to Everyday Superpower. I hope this has been beneficial. I hope you don't forget the image ahead of you or the image that has sprung to mind when I've referenced the ankle lock. Solidifying their position. They're scared to move. They've made themselves smaller rather than larger. And as we've discussed, an individual who has made themselves smaller than enlarged, they've frozen. They're uncomfortable, they're hiding away from the world, they're not confident, okay? An individual who is free and large and moves freely is comfortable and confident. This is the opposite of that. Pay attention. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy what you hear and you want to learn more, how to read the minds of others and your own behaviours on a day-to-day, communication-to-communication basis, please click subscribe, as this information will benefit you in the workplace, in relationships, any sort of interpersonal dynamic. Even whilst watching the television, you'll be able to identify people's true intentions. Goodbye.